Turn now to Mr. Genuis. You have the floor for 5 minutes, please.
Thank you very much, Chair. Chair, part of the ArriveCAN scandal is that we are seeing this intense and bitter conflict between senior public servants. Senior officials accusing each other of lying, of falsifying evidence, even of faking major illnesses. And we have a similar dynamic today where we have witnesses whose testimony conflicts with the statements of Ms. Daly. And I want to just observe that whoever you find more convincing, the fact of this intense conflict within the ranks of the senior public service is a major problem. It's a problem that this division exists, that people can't trust each other, that someone is lying, and that whoever's responsible is not owning up to the problem. Now, we had heard testimony along the way that Minister Mendicino wanted someone's head on a platter over the ArriveCAN scandal. This is obviously a massive boondoggle. The investigations at committee had started, and the implication of the testimony we heard about wanting someone's head on a platter is that Minister Mendicino was looking for a fall person, someone to carry the blame, someone within the public service to take responsibility for the disastrous ArriveCAN procurement. He wanted to hold someone else responsible. And it seems to me that just looking at the timelines that there really was an emergence of and an intensification of conflict among senior public servants after this directive from Minister Mendicino came down, an informal directive, but after he said that he wanted someone's head on a platter. And I would just observe as well that we've seen the conflict between what you might describe as the Min-Doan faction and the MacDonald-Utano faction. So I think this kind of plays into the questioning of Diane Daly and her allegation that she was sort of supposed to say certain things about who was responsible, and she didn't say the things she was expected to, and therefore people went after her. So I want to ask a few questions about this. When did you first decide to interview Ms. Daly? When did you reach out to her and say, we need to talk to you about this?
Thank you very much for the question. So I reached out to Ms. Daly, as I said earlier, on December 14th, after I was asked to ask her to cooperate with the investigation.
So I just thank you, and I just want to observe that was after the MacDonald-Utano testimony, where they basically came out with very strong criticisms of Min-Doan and other senior public servants. So you were asked to interview Ms. Daly after Mr. Utano and MacDonald had already kind of separated themselves from the narrative being advanced by other officials. Can you confirm that during her hearing with you, Ms. Daly accused Min-Doan of lying and said that Min-Doan was responsible for the decision to choose GC Strategies?
Thank you very much for the question. No, I cannot remember that, and this was not an interview. This, in fact, was a meeting, and I never interviewed Ms. Daly. I was not part of, and I am not part of either investigation, neither that of CBSA nor that of PSPC.
We have it in the transcript that Ms. Daly did say that Min-Doan had lied, and she did say that he was responsible for the decision to choose GC Strategies. She further said that Min-Doan had ruled out Deloitte as an option for GC Strategies because of issues with CARM, and that is consistent with testimony that was given by Mr. MacDonald and Utano, although it contradicts testimony given by Min-Doan and by the leadership of CBSA. So I don't know if you can confirm that or not, but that's in the transcript that we received.
So thank you very much for the question. No, I cannot confirm that. I don't recall this, and I have not heard the transcript nor read the transcript, so I don't recall that.
Okay. It's there, and members have it. But what was clear to me is that Ms. Daly's testimony conformed to the version of events that we heard from Cameron MacDonald and Mr. Utano. It conflicted with the events that we heard from Min-Doan, and statements by the senior leadership of CBSA confirms what Min-Doan's supported what Mr. Doan's statement was. So you have these two conflicting stories, and the problem is that people who support one version of events continually get forms of pressure. They get put on leave, in some cases leave without pay, whereas people who support the other version of events don't face the same kind of consequences.
Question,
so
Mr. Genuous.
We're trying to make sense as a committee, and I'd just be curious for your comments on this, of why, while an investigation is supposedly still ongoing, you have this conflict between senior officials, and one faction is facing penalties already, and the other faction is not, when the investigation is supposedly going on. Doesn't that suggest kind of a problem?
Thank you very much for the question. I don't want to, I'm not part of any of those factions, and I don't want to speculate as to the motivations of those individuals. I also would like to go back to the words, to a question earlier that I used in that meeting with Miss Daly, specifically the word targeted. I was trying to convey...
Actually, Ms. Bolduc, I know you're going to have a chance to answer that. We are over the time, and I give witnesses the chance to answer the question posed to them. I'm sure this is going to come up on the next round or soon thereafter. Ms. Kuzi, you have the floor for 5 minutes, please.
Thank you very much. In her opening statement, Diane Daly stated she felt intimidated and attacked during the internal investigation currently going on at CBSA. She used phrases such as, "I'm very concerned that if I tell the truth here, I'm going to lose my job." She also stated that I have been muzzled for some time now. In the same opening statement, Ms. Daly stated, "Despite assurances from my Director General and Senior Director at the CBSA, that the CBSA was not investigating me. ATIP records show PSPC began investigating me on December 11th, 2023. She states, "I haven't had federal authorization to do procurement from 2018 through 2023. I'm currently on administrative leave from Public Works." Can you please explain why Ms. Daly was told she was not being investigated when she is now part of the agency's internal investigation process and has since been interviewed?
Thank you very much for the question. Ms. Daly still is not under investigation by the CBSA, is my understanding. Again, I'm not part of those investigations. I can confirm that there is an investigation at PSPC. At the time that the statements were made by myself to Ms. Daly, she was a witness into an investigation, so the statements that I made to her were accurate and true when I made them on December 14, 2023.
If Ms. Daly did not have any federal authorization to be involved in procurement, can you explain why Christian Firth named her as the individual in the CBSA that helped him negotiate the terms of his own contract?
Thank you very much for the question. No, I can't. Mr. Firth and Ms. Daly would have to speak for themselves on that.
If you suspected Ms. Daly of misconduct in the procurement of the ArriveCAN application, why was she given procurement authority once again in July of 2023?
Thank you very much for the question. Again, I did not suspect Ms. Diane Daly of anything at the time because I was not there, was not part of the procurement branch at the time. And when she returned to the department, in July 2023, there was no such thing as an investigation on Ms. Daly at that time.
Ms. Daly stated in her testimony that she believes she is on administrative leave because CBSA and Public Works did not get the negative narrative expected about two former bosses at CBSA in the January 15th, 2024 security interview. Is this the reason Ms. Daly was placed on leave?
Thank you very much for the question. Those are her statements. In answer to your question, is that why she was placed on leave? She was placed on leave because an administrative investigation began in March 2024, initiated by PSPC, and we judged that it was more appropriate to remove her from her procurement duties given the investigation and place her on administrative leave with pay at that time.
Okay, well, I'm not sure what you based your judgment upon, but Ms. Daly also stated, Madame Bolduc, that 2 weeks after she was placed on leave, you, as her former Director General, were appointed Director General of the new Professional Service Transformative Solutions sector on March 27th, 2024. You've corroborated positively with this today. So it would appear that this position was created and given to you because you helped to generate a false set of reprisals against Anthony Utano, Cameron McDonald, and Diane Daly, as they claimed. What would you have to say to that, please?
Thank you very much for the question. As I explained, this was a lateral move I was previously Director General. I was asked to step into an area of procurement where help was needed, hence why I accepted the position as Director General to transform the professional services. Again, there were several reports from the Auditor General and the Procurement Ombud that identified a need to modernize, to transform, and I stepped into the job.
Did you receive an increase in salary or substantive level in this new position?
Thank you very much for the question. Not at all.
You know, Mr. Speaker, I'm not sure if the group here is aware, but Canada's Public Servants Disclosure Protection Act, which provides whistleblower protection, was ranked last year comparative to 50 other countries. This government was given an opportunity to update whistleblower protections back in 2017, but accepted none of the Government Operations Committee's recommendations to improve whistleblower protections. And finally, the Bloc, of course, my colleague to the left, put forward a piece of legislation to improve whistleblower protections, which is now being held up in the Senate and which was filibustered for weeks by the Liberals. Mr. Speaker, unfortunately, the testimony we were receiving here today from Madame Bolduc corroborates with the idea that, frankly, public servants are not safe in speaking the truth in this Liberal government. Thank you very much, Mr. Chair.
Thank you very much.